slowly.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So this is the 12th class from Kitab al-Nikah, and it's only maybe 2 more classes after the night for Kitab al-Nikah. We should be at the end. This is Ishratul Nisa, the rights of the husband and the wife. This might, and then the last chapter in Kitab al-Nikah is Bab al-Khula', the Kula, as people call it, the Kula, Khula', Bab al-Khula'. That's the last section, which in reality is not really long. There's probably more questions on the Khula' than the actual text itself. So tonight probably won't be that long. So we probably got 3 more classes altogether for Kitab al-Nikah, inshallah. Before we continue, because we started this section last week, but it might be, I think it would be negligent not to read a couple of hadith connected to, even though it's not in the metan, the text of the book. We spoke last week about the ayah, Ashiruhunna wa ashiruhunna bil ma'ruf. Where Allah said, and live with them in goodness. Right? And live with them in goodness. Live with the women, your wives, in goodness. But the question is, what is goodness? That's the question. How do we know what's good and what's not good? Huh? According to the custom of the people. So something that's good to us might not be good in another country. Might not be good in another city. It's general. Good is general in that ayah. And that's a verse we should all at least know what a verse is. That's Surah An-Nisa, ayah 19. Surah An-Nisa, ayah 19. We should at least know where these ahadith or the verses in the ahadith are if we want to reference, if we want to go back to them, if we want to look up another explanation, get some more detail to them. At least we know the command is from Allah to live with the spouse in goodness and kindness. What's good is according to where you are, the time, and the place. Some things might be standard across the board, like we spoke about last week, right? And then some things might vary depending on what city you're in, what country you're in, what year it is, right? What's good this year in 2022, 20 years ago might not have been good to us, right? So that could vary. But there's some things that are standard. Some things that are standard between the husband and the wife. Like what? We spoke about that last week, right? What's good between the husband and the wife? Allah said, live with them in goodness. What's goodness? What do we know to be good to us? Jayid, compliments. I don't think nobody said that last week. Mutual respect between the husband and the wife. For the husband to compliment his wife and for the wife to compliment her husband. That's good. Tell you. It might sound crazy, y'all, but some of this stuff you have to say out loud. Because some people don't think Islam allows anything. All right? What else is goodness? Compliment a wife. The wife compliments her husband. Gifts, giving gifts, gift giving is responsible for what he's responsible for, the food, clothing, and shelter, right? Okay, after that, some think that everything material wise has to come from the man's side. As if she gave a gift, that would be considered what? Huh? No. In reality, if a woman gives her husband something, huh? Yeah.
The common food.
Mm-mm.
No, that's
A sadaqah. At the least, if a woman gives her something that her husband something that she's not obligated to give her. I mean, she's not. I'm sorry. Yeah. Now the way people look at it, because we look at stuff a whole lot of ways. And I mean, because we look at it like that is right. Right. A woman gives her husband something that is not obligatory for her to give to her husband, which means she gave him extra. Right. And if she gave him extra, which he's not really entitled to, it's not a haq, it's not a right of his. That means she gave him sadaqah. Right. She gave him charity. If a man gives his wife something that she's not, it's not a haq, it's not a right of hers. He already did his obligation towards his wife, but he gives her extra. Then that's what? Sadaqah, right? It's charity, that's extra. Part of our problem is we don't understand the basic rights between the wife and the husband. So we think, a lot of us think, when the wife is not doing that extra, we think she's not doing her obligation. We think the extra is obligation. We think the extra is a wajib. And the brother thinks the extra she's doing is wajib, and she thinks the extra that he's doing is wajib, obligatory. So when somebody stops doing that extra, we think that they stopped doing their what? Obligation. Now he want to divorce her. Or now she wants to call out based on extra that really, in reality, it wasn't a right of yours in the first place. That's a problem, right? In reality, it was never your right that she do that in the first place. Yeah, she was doing it since y'all got married. Okay. Because she was doing something since y'all got married doesn't necessitate that Islamically that's a right.
And when they say the woman is responsible for like the home, keeping the home like safe or together, like something like that.
Uh-huh.
Does that necessarily mean cooking and cleaning?
We ain't getting into that right now, shit. That's a whole joint. Oh, that's the issue. That's the issue. The ulama discuss the issue of, is it obligatory for the woman to cook and clean?
That'd be a cost for me, you know, sometimes I feel like I work all day, I come home, crib, you know.
Yeah, we ain't gonna do that right now though. Let's start off with something else. Inshallah, we get back to that. Because I think that's coming. Tayyib. So that's the first one. Surah An-Nisa, ayat 19. Right? Tayyib, the next hadith. Before we start the book. The Prophet ﷺ said, Istawsu bin nisa'i khayran. Right? This is to the men. Be good to the women. Be good to the women. This is a command from the Prophet ﷺ to be good to women. Tayyib. We know what good is, right? I'm assuming we do. Some of the stuff we do. Tayyib, what's not being good to a woman?
Talking to him ill.
Talking to him?
Ill.
What do you mean ill?
Like disrespectfully.
Disrespecting her. Disrespecting a woman is not being good to him. Do we agree on that, or is that up in the air? That's agreed. Disrespecting your wife is not considered being good to her. Disrespecting her how? Because this is the problem too. A person to say something to somebody, and to the person saying it, to me, to me, that's not disrespectful. Or I didn't say it to be disrespectful. Right? I didn't say that to be disrespectful. Now the person on the receiving end says, that's totally out of pocket. That's total disrespect. Right? This is real, right? Tayyib. When that happens, Is it disrespect or is it not disrespect? Hmm?
You can't tell the other person how to feel.
You can't tell the other person how they feel when you said that to them. Even though I didn't intentionally say that to disrespect, right? I say that to people all the time. I didn't know it was disrespectful to you, because the problem is sometimes a man to say something to a woman or a woman to say something to a man, and the person that hears it says that's total disrespect. Like she totally disrespected me. She says, I didn't say that to be disrespectful, right? I only said that because of this. Yeah, but the problem is when the person on the other end is disrespected by it, what other option do you have but to respect their feelings? They're talking about a husband and wife. You're not talking about just somebody in Family Dollar. Y'all live together, lay down together, got kids together, all that. You say something to her is total disrespect. We's like, man, she tripping. She just gonna have to deal with it. Is that being good to live with each other and good, or vice versa? Or she say something to her husband, the same applies. It's not a one-sided thing, right? If a person on the other side feels disrespected, you can't ignore it as if it don't exist. Ignoring it as if it don't exist, but the person just gonna have to deal with that.
So what would you advise in a situation where, some people can't handle the truth, men and women, they have issues with handling the truth or criticism. And say somebody has a partner, and it's like every time they tell them, like, inform no matter how they come at them, the person always like, oh, I feel disrespected, or some people just have a defensive personality where always like, I feel attacked, or they always feel disrespected.
That's different. If you always feel disrespected, then you gotta look in the mirror. If everything is disrespectful, you gotta look in the mirror. If every time somebody say something is this, then it's always an argument. It's always two sides. It ain't that I'm always defensive. It's the problem is the way you say it. It's always two sides, right? Same thing we talk about. If you're giving dawah to a person, you can't tell them, you can't disrespect somebody in their face. You tell them you have the truth with you. You totally disrespect them when you're talking to them, and you expect them to accept what you're saying, even though you're right. You tell them about Deen. You tell them about Tawheed and the Sunnah. You tell them all the stuff that's right, but you talking to them totally out of line. But then you still want them to accept what you're saying, right? It's the same thing. She dead wrong or he's dead wrong. But the way you talking, nobody's going to accept that, right? Nobody's going to accept that. Now, if you do it the best you can in the most possible way that you possibly can, the nicest way you can, and it still don't work, then we got to go somewhere else. We got to set up a meeting. But yeah, that's the first hadith. To be good to the women. The Prophet ﷺ did not give us the green light. We don't have the green light as Muslims to be disrespectful in anything outside of khayrun to the women. We don't have a green light. The command is to be good. As it says, يأمر النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام في هذا الحديث بالصبر على المرأة. The Prophet ﷺ is commanding us in this hadith to be patient with the women. And then the complete hadith, it says, فإنهن خلقنا من ضلع أعوج, that they're created from the highest part of the rib, the curved part of the rib, that famous hadith, that if you bend it too far, you're going to break her, right? That means you got to be what? Gentle. You got to be, it's a woman. It's a woman. You got to be soft, gentle. We don't lose no points being soft with women, y'all. This ain't 92, right? We're not talking about stuff that we were taught. We Muslim. Islam trumps that. So it's okay to be soft and gentle, especially your wife. I mean, talking about especially with your wife, it's okay. The Prophet ﷺ said in another hadith, خيركم لأهله. The best of you is who? Those who are best to your families. Right? And he said, and I'm the best, he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, and I'm the best to my family. Showing what we're supposed to be. It's from khayr. The adab of the Muslim man is that the Muslim woman has a high level of honor and respect in our deen. No matter what we've been taught, no matter what people always doing, we're not talking about nobody's personal situation. I was married to a brother, he was doing this. We talking about what Islam says. What the deen says, how the man is supposed to treat a woman. We ain't talking about what the brothers in Philly do with the all that. We're not going in there. We talking about what does the Prophet say? What the law saying? His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Tayyib. If we look at that, if we understand the seriousness of the marriage contract, because a lot of the issues we be having, it is as if we don't really understand how serious the marriage contract is on either side. And Allah knows best. It's as if we don't understand what's really about to happen. That you marry a woman marries a man. Do we really understand the responsibility that transfers? That you marry a woman, and that woman is now your responsibility to feed her. If she don't eat, that's on you. It's not on her. If she doesn't have clothes to wear, if she doesn't have clothes munasib, appropriate for cold weather, whose fault is that? It's her husband. She's a married woman, right? She might have father, a brother, and she got all of that. Whose responsibility is it? Immediate responsibility? It's the husband. She's supposed to have somewhere to live. Who's supposed to supply the place to live? The husband. That's the origin. The man is supposed to supply a place for her to stay, right? Sometimes we upset. The man is upset because she's upset, right? She's upset because he got her living, for example, with his family, right? He has his wife living, whatever the situation is. She knows the man's supposed to supply the housing. He's supposed to give me somewhere to stay. So now to her, and this is the reality, y'all, if she's living in the house, if people live in the house with other people, that's going to be a problem. The privacy in the home of a married man and a married woman is not something that comes with other foreign people in the house. She can never get all the way comfortable if there's other men walking around who can't see her if she's not covered. He can never be all the way comfortable if there's other women in the house walking around. You understand? That seclusion for the husband and wife is important, right? This is basic. That the responsibility transfers from whoever her wali was, whoever her family were. She might have 10 brothers. Her father's Muslim, 10 brothers, they all Muslim. You marry her. The responsibility is transferred to you. She's not supposed to be calling them to get much food to eat and all. That's not, right? That comes with responsibility, right? It's a big responsibility. We take it light a lot of times. The responsibility of the woman is a huge responsibility. A man gives his daughter over, right? A man has to give his daughter. How many people in here got daughters? MashaAllah. Me too. Alhamdulillah. No, alhamdulillah. It's just a difficult conversation. You giving your daughter over to a man that you trust is going to do what the Prophet ﷺ said. Khairukum khairukum li ahli. We marry our daughters off with the hope that that man is going to follow the text. Be good to the women, right? And everything that we know to be good amongst each other. Knowing the hadith that come where the Prophet spoke about the woman following and being obedient to the man, right? The Prophet said that da'a ar-rajulu imra'atahu ila firashihi fa'abat an taji'a la'anatha al-mala'ika hatta tusbiha. Muttafiqun alayhi, in Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. If a man calls his wife to the bed and she refuses to come, this is our daughters. That's how I gotta understand. You gotta understand. That's my daughter. Her husband calls her to the bed. She refuses to come. That what? The angels curse her until when? Till the morning. That's a heavy threat. It's a heavy threat. What's the benefit behind the hadith?
To understand the woman's submission to her husband.
What protects the man from falling into zina?
Both of those. Understanding a woman's submission to her husband, right? And responding to the call when her husband, right? And on top of that, that the woman, his wife, is supposed to be there in those situations to protect him from looking at other women. That's part of it. It's part of marriage. She's supposed to respond to keep her husband's gaze controlled. And if she doesn't respond to keep her husband's gaze controlled, it's a threat from the Prophet ﷺ that the curse of the angels will be on her until the morning. If she doesn't respond, that leaves her husband open for what? Allah protect us, for anything. Whatever he's looking for, his desire, let's just say his desire is still running. طيب. طيب. In this other hadith that showed the importance of the woman responding to the husband, as the Prophet ﷺ said, he said, if I would command anybody to make sajda, to put their face on the ground in front of another person, if I were to command anybody to do that, it would be who? It would be the wife to put her face on the ground, the husband, and her face sajda to her husband, if I were to command anybody to do that. That's a high, high level of humility, submission to a person, that we got to give our daughters over to somebody to be able to do that. And we hope that the person is decent enough, right, that we marry our daughters to. Yes. And whoever you married to, the person who married that person to you, they expect that from you. Whoever's married, the person married your wife to you with the expectation that we are going to be following the hadith, not just us putting it on everybody else. Somebody married you off, somebody married a woman to you. Their expectation is you're going to be good to the woman. You're going to live with her in goodness. You're going to be kind to her. You're not going to break her. Right? That's the expectation. That's what the act does. The act does that. It brings us that close and puts all those obligations on everybody. That before the contract, before the offer and acceptance and the witnesses, and before all of that, none of that existed. That responsibility wasn't on us, not on the husband or the wife.
It's a quote that was saying something like what it says, and be aware of be careful when you giving your daughters away, because giving your daughter away basically to slavery. You marry her to, that's the level of submission.
That's a high level of submission. Allah musta'an. طيب. The Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, خيركم خيركم لأهله. He said, the best of you are the best, the ones who are the best of their families, and I'm the best of my family. It says, يعني أنه إذا قام الزوج بحق زوجته وأداء ما يلزمه وصحبها صحبة حسنة وألان كلام لها ودخل عليها بوجه منبسط فتبسم في وجهها وأعطاها ما تطلبه فإنه تلين له وتحبه. If the man, this is the explanation of the hadith, the best of you are those who are best of their families, and I'm the best of my family. He said, if the man gives his wife her rights, and he lives with her in kindness and goodness, and he speaks to her gently, and when he sees her, he smiles. Right? He comes in, he sees her, he smiles. It's a result. Because a person might not do none of that, but then the result that he gets from her might not be the same. Right? He's saying these things, and it's a result that comes with this. He says he smiles in her face. He gives her what she asked for. طيب. He says when he does that, she loves him. As we say, you have a person in the palm of your hand based on something else was done already, though. Right? خيركم خيركم لأهله. The best of you are those who are the best of their families. طيب. And lastly, the hadith about the woman not responding to the husband. He says, this is wa'id shadid bit-tard min rahmatillahi wa riyadha billah. This is a serious threat because a curse means what? What does it mean if the Prophet said the curse is on somebody?
Distance from Allah's mercy.
Yes, that a person will be distanced from will be pushed away from the mercy of Allah. That the person will be pushed away from the mercy of Allah based on not responding to the haqq of her husband. That's a heavy responsibility for a woman to have to shoulder. Yes.
That's your question now. Let's say oftentimes women have, not women, I would say some people have the habit. They may not verbally deny the woman, man, but she'll do something that she know agitates him.
Right.
That then, like, he's just done. Like he may have, had a
Turn off
complete.
Yeah.
Does that fall under that same?
She did that intentionally.
Yeah. And like she has the habit, you know what I mean. Who knows her intention, but she may have the habit of like every night you always do X, Y, and Z, which leads to X, Y, and Z.
Well, one of two things: either one, she doing it and she doesn't know what agitates her, and if that's the case, then what? You got to tell her. That's a conversation. Either one, because he said the question was sometimes a woman might not say something verbally, like "I'm not coming to bed," but she might do things that agitate the man. That even if she came, he like it's a turn off. I'm done. Right? No, like what? Time out.
That's cool for me.
That's what I'm saying. Hold. But yeah, everybody different. Though. That's what I'm saying. Everybody different. That's why what he's saying is different. If she doesn't know what she's doing, agitates her husband, that's one thing. That's a conversation. The brother said, like, she might, depend on when she comes to bed, and she might come to bed with a sweatpants and a hoodie, right? And for her husband, he has a problem with that. But if he never told her that, then she doesn't know. That's a problem. That's one thing. But if she's intentionally doing that, she's intentionally doing something to agitate her husband so that he doesn't get his right when it comes to being intimate, it's real easy to figure that out. Is that considered being good to your spouse? No. We're supposed to be good to one another. These are the closest people to us, for the most part. If nobody else know how shout out we are, our husband and our wives know how shout out we are. I don't care what everybody's saying in the match said. There's people who know the reality, right? So all we gotta do is put the gauge. The gauge is what the Prophet said, what the law saying, what the Prophet said. Is that from goodness, right? And if we flipped it, if that's a haqq of his that he wants, if we flipped it and we said, well, from her right is food, clothing, and shelter, right? She wants to eat. She don't eat certain types of food, and you keep buying that same food every day, like, right? She doesn't want that food. She does that food does this, that, into her body, and the man keeps on going about the same thing. Is that from goodness? No, not if he's intentionally doing it. That's the gauge. If you intend, and that's different if he doesn't know she can't eat that, and she never speaks up. I'm too shy to say, well, how are you supposed to know? But yeah, I thought that was worth mentioning because some of the rights coming up, we need to understand the severity of the contract. If we didn't already, just to refresh our memories, that the contract is serious, and that's what makes the woman halal for the man and the man halal for the woman, right? And of course, again, these rules, these ahkam are not to be like, we're not living in the house. We should not be. If we are, we out of line, y'all. You can't live in the house like this, man. Out the book. Everything they do, you check in the book to see if they did it. Like he said, it's going to be chaos. It got to be a lot of what? Passes. A lot of give and take. A lot of overlooking. We ain't perfect. You got to overlook stuff. You got to pick your battles. If you think you're going to fight every battle and win, I'll wrap it up, man. It's not. You got to pick your battles and everything. Not depending on the person, depending on the man or the woman. Some things you have to overlook. And some things for people are what? Deal breakers. Not talking about looking over no deal breaker, right? But some things you got to pick your battles. Tell you, we stopped last week and we already did some of the rights of the husband, right? And we stopped on the last sentence, وَمَبِيتٌ بِطَلَبٍ عِنْدَ حُرَّ لَيْلَةٍ مِنْ كُلِّ أَرْبَعٍ. The last thing we did was how often it is obligatory for the husband to spend the night with his wife. Obligation. Once out of every 4 nights. Why? He might have multiple wives. So if a man have multiple wives, a man has 4 wives, that means his wife and the time has to be divided evenly. That means in reality, his wife, he would stay with whoever his wife is once every 4 days. So in reality, as we see now, most people, they just stay in the house, which is fine. There's no problem in that. All right. I'm not saying everybody move out the house and go get a whole nother. We're not saying that. We're talking about obligations. And this is what I'm saying. You can't go home and say, well, I don't really got to be here tonight. I was here last night. Brother was saying it. No, I'm not saying move out of nowhere. And a lot of these issues don't really come up until it's a problem. A lot of these issues don't come up until it's a problem. طيب. So he says after that, وإن سافر فوق النصف السنة وطلبت قدومه راسله الحاكم. What about a brother who he works on the road, right? He works on the road and he goes on the road and he's out on the road 6 months at a time. He's out on the road 6 months at a time. That means he hasn't been intimate with his wife in 6 months. She has a right to intimacy, right? If he want to forge his right to be intimate with his wife, he could. But what about her right? Right? He's on the road 6 months, right? It says more than 6 months. It says وَطَلَبَتْ قُدُومَهُ. She requests for him to come back, right? She requests for him to come back. It says رَاسَلَهُ حَاكِم. In this case, she's supposed to get in touch with, I'm going to leave it like this first. The government, the ruling body, right? Basically, she's supposed to go to court and put in a complaint, right? What's supposed to happen? What happens in the court is now the court is gonna, as we say, summons him. You've been gone too long. You're married. You can't. Islamically, you're not allowed to do that. So now the court is going to get in contact with the man. فإن أبى بلا عذر فرق بينهما بطلبها. If he doesn't have a valid excuse for not coming back, right, then that marriage will be dissolved by the government, by the authorities. Right. The question is if she wants the marriage to be dissolved. It's not going to just automatically be over. She might not want it to be over. She might just want to put in a complaint to put the pressure on her husband. They contact him. He say, well, I'm coming. And she might leave it there. But what if she wants to really go all the way? Then that goes through the authorities and it will go that far. And the question is, what's a valid excuse to be gone that long?
Seeking knowledge.
Jihad.
Military.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, there's some things that are obligatory.
Jihad.
It could be a jihad that's not obligatory. It depends. What about Hajj? It could be a Hajj that's not obligatory. All right. It depends on what they're going for. They could be out working. But what if they don't really need to be out there working like that? It's not really a need. I just like this type of work. I got work already. I got work around, where I live at. But I just like doing this because whatever the scene, whatever I'm doing out here, I like this area. But I don't really need it. So it depends on what the person is doing out there. So that depends. The examples they give are obligatory. Say, for example, that's the only way they can make money. If I come back home, I'm not going to be able to make no money. If I come back home now, I'm not going to be able to make the money. That's one thing. That's a valid excuse, they say. Right? An obligatory Hajj. Hajj only supposed to be something happened. They get caught out there. They on an obligation. Obligations are one thing. So in that case, those are case-by-case situations. It ain't like it's a list of them. It's a case-by-case situation, which could vary from person to person.
Well, I got two questions.
Father.
One, when you say dissolve, you mean like
لا annulment, I'm sorry. فسخ النكاح.
all right, that's
فسخ. Annulment. Dissolve meaning not a khula, not a talaq. No, I say that. I said not a khula, not a talaq, but a fasq nikah. We ain't get there. Okay. But a fasq nikah, you don't need the approval of Let me not say that.
I know what you mean.
You with me?
I know what you mean.
That's a whole process by itself.
That's like if the brother don't want to give her a quote out or something along those lines, and then you go to the court and the court is it that type of situation?
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Inshallah. Further.
What is 6 months like? Is 6 months the only time limit that like it's too long? As far as
The problem is this: how often it is obligatory for the man to be intimate with his wife.
Now I was saying like something like realistic for like a truck driver.
Go ahead. So what's the question? Say it again.
So like if you're not like a truck driver, you might be out. Realistically, a truck driver can have a contract for 10 to 14 days where they got to be out for 2 weeks at a time.
Okay.
Is that too long? I know I was gonna say it's too because the 4-night thing, but
the limit that's given based on the verse is for a man once every 4 months. That's like the bare minimum. Now the problem is he's been gone 6 months.
no, that's all I was asking. 4 months.
You with me? The bare minimum is once every 4 months that the man has to be intimate with his wife. Whether he like her, he don't like her. That's like her, don't like. We ain't talking about that. What's Islamically, you have to be intimate with her at least once every 4 months. Now he's working. Now he's out on the road. He traveled, and 6 months then went by. I mean, he's 2 months late. Now either he got a valid excuse or he doesn't have a valid excuse. That valid excuse could vary based on from situation to situation. Not like a list of them that I know of. That's a valid excuse. You with me?
So the husband can be gone for 4 months.
What do you mean?
So, okay, not like that, but
that's what it sounds like, shit. I'm not saying, y'all. Let me make sure. I'm not saying. All I'm saying is.
How long can the husband be gone? Because I saw something, like 90 days. I believe it was in the fifth book. What Sheikh Salih goes in 90 days. I'm not sure. That's why I asked.
You should be as much as you can be available to your family. That's what you should be doing. These issues are issues of, for example, I'm a truck driver. I'm only supposed to be gone, right? 2 months. Something happened while I'm out there. It turned into 4. It turned into 6. I'm not that I'm intentionally going to not be intimate with my wife because, not you, I'm just saying. Sheikh Fawzan said right here, right? For some of us, I'm not really attracted to my wife. I'm not really whatever. So I'm going to, since he said I'm just going to do this and make the whole marriage worse, right? Because I found something that fits my nafs. This fits my desire. So now I'm going to use this. Not like that. But if something happened like that, because most of these issues don't only come up when it's a problem, right? When it's a problem, they pop up. All right, when it's a problem, now we got to go, we'll look at it. Well, what can Islamically, what does Islam allow? All right, well, this is what happened. Boom, once every 4 months. Okay, cool. Where we at now? We at 6. All right, well, it's a valid complaint.
I was saying, if you go study, say
What's the hukum on going to study? You with me? Is it obligatory to go overseas and study? So now you're doing something recommended. Now you leave off the obligation for something recommended.
How do we see that in the light of, for instance, when we see a large majority of the Salaf of the past would leave 10 years, Abu Hatim al-Razi, 14 years traveling, seeking knowledge with his son. I mean, many ulama that we know from the past traveled to seek knowledge and was going for years. So, we know the virtue of what they're doing, but how do we?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Now, I will say, I do remember Sheikh Demin briefly explaining that, because of who they were and because of their times in their land and things like that. Actually, he used Sheikh Mukbil as like a reference because during the time of right before Sheikh Mukbil, Rahimahullah Ta'ala, we know how Yemen was. A lot of the people say from Imam Shawkani to the time of like Sheikh Mukbil, it wasn't really, Yemen wasn't grounded on the dawah like that. And then the Sheikh went, studied, and came back. So he used Sheikh Mukbil as a method example to show like when a specific place is in need. I mean, we know we're not really in need like that. The students everywhere. But
Allahu Alam on that.
Well,
Allahu Alam on that part. But listen, this is the thing. We look at the Salaf, they was traveling for years. Like, number one, This is assuming she requests for him to come back. She might be cool with him traveling for 10 years. If she's cool with him going and she's cool with him being away for 6 months and 7 months at a time, we don't have an issue. There's no issue if his wife, they're fine with it. It could be the virtue of the man, not the virtue of the wife. It could be the virtue of the man. The man is so virtuous, the wife recognizes his virtue and she falls in line. But if the man ain't virtuous, I ain't sitting around like that for him. Right? From the,
But you mentioned it that she has to go to the hakim of the cover.
yes.
I see you know where I'm going.
Yeah.
I won't go there. I wouldn't.
We don't have an Islamic ruler.
Yeah, so what happens in those?
Generally, if there's no ruler in place, they go to the Islamic centers, which in America pretty much are the masjids. They go to the masjids, and then the masjids and the imams and the boards they have to deal with it. Allah make it easy. Allah make it easy, man. I'm coming back to you.
What's the deal with like she needed that intermediary to like reach out for her. She could call, text, like, yo, it is 6 months.
Yeah, but sometimes, good. He said if the man was gone for 6 months, he's saying the sister could just call, she could just call him and text him. He stopped answering her calls.
Oh,
Yeah, I ain't answering no more. He block her. He all the stuff. He blocks her on every social media and don't answer her calls. And she calling him. This is his wife. They got kids together and everything. He block her on everything. Don't answer her calls 3 months at a time. She came to the masjid, like, you know what I'm saying? Allah forgive us. Tayyib. I mean, that's if she wanted for him to return, right? Tayyib. He says, وَإِن لَمْ يُعْلَمْ خَبْرُهُ فَلَا فَسْخَ لِذَلِكَ بِحَالٍ. Say, for example, they try to get in touch with him and they're not able to reach him. In that case, they don't just dissolve the marriage. I'm on 240, I think. I don't know what copy you got, though. What's that? Minhaj al-Salikin? Oh, no. Akhsan Mukhtasarat. Yeah. Which basically means, this we need to understand, a talaq, a divorce, a khula', or fasq nikah, annulment of the marriage contract. It breaks up a family. Families, that means a family is getting ready to break up. All right? Islamically, before families are broken up, especially by a third party, a lot of steps got to be taken. You're talking about separating kids, talking about kids underage, kids older. You're talking about you got daughters and sons. She moves, she gets married, your kids over their house. There's a whole bunch of stuff ready to come down. That in the heat of it, nobody cares. When it's going down, nobody cares about none of that. But the reality is, Islamically, there's a lot of steps got to be put in place to make sure before a third party just comes in and ends a marriage. So it's a process. So they're saying is basically, if we can't get in touch, we're not just going to end y'all marriage because I couldn't get in touch with him. Right? Maybe I don't know the best way to get in touch with him. So they're not just going to end the marriage like that. طيب. He says, وَحَرُمَ جَمْعُ زَوْجَتَيْهِ بِمَسْكِنٍ وَاحِدٍ مَا لَمْ يَرْضَيَا. He said it's haram. What does haram mean? Number one, it's a sin.
Worthy punishment.
And it's deserving of Allah's punishment. Haram. It's sinful. That means it's a sin. And a person deserves to be punished by Allah. But Allah could forgive him. But a person deserves to be punished because they did. It's a sin. It's a sin, haram, for a man to have both of his wives living in the same house. Haram. Except if they don't mind. If they don't mind, then it's not an issue. But for a man to try to force his wives to live in the same house, right, without their approval, why? Why is it haram? They have the right to their housing and privacy. Yes.
I'm going to say, well, if they marry and know that he only has one dwelling, can only afford one, it would still be haram if they married and knew that.
As long as she's okay with it. If she's okay with it, it's not an issue.
Afterwards, would it be, say they accept that in the beginning?
Oh, well, that's different. If they accept something, listen, if anybody accepts something and then they go back on it, you can't go back to the first agreement we had and make a person sinful. You understand what I'm saying? So if she was fine with that in the beginning and they get married and it's not a sin on them because it's okay with his wives. Now, she might change her mind later on. You can't go back and say, well, you sinful. That was haram for you marrying him. No. At the time, they had an agreement that they agreed to, which is fine.
So
right?
now is he sinful though?
How?
I'm asking, like, that was her right, and then now she want her right.
Oh, well, now, no, that's a renegotiation of the conditions that we spoke about. That doesn't make a person a sinner.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? She was okay. They busted. They made the move in agreement, right? She agreed to it. It's fine with her. She goes back. Okay, now you can't hold a person for something that changed in an agreement.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? If he would have forced her, that would have been haram from the beginning. But no, they had it. She knew what it was. She doesn't mind. Cool. Okay, if that's fine with you, alhamdulillah. And this is another thing. Because people do that, you can't. Everything in our deen is not based on your personal situation. You sitting here listening. I ain't never do that. Well, that's you. You don't live where people live. You're not under conditions that other people are under. Right? People do stuff. At the end of the day, if they did, if two of his wives were okay living in the same house, at the end of the day, they trying to fear Allah. This is the best that they can do right now at this point without being in the street making zina. If you don't have to do that, thank Allah that He didn't test you with that type of situation to have to do something like that to protect yourself. طيب. Whoa. He says, وَلَهُ مَنْعُهَا مِنَ الْخُرُوجِ. And it is, the man has the authority to prevent his wife from leaving the house. And this is always an issue. And every time I hear the ulama explain this, they always make a point here to the men. Every time I hear this issue, is always the ulama saying to the men, don't be overboard and don't oppress her. Don't take that as your key to be a tyrant on a woman because you have authority over her. And then you use the verse, Allah gave the women the power, you want all the stuff, and you oppress her. Every time I personally heard this issue explained, is always directed to the men first. Right? Always. That don't use that, the fact that a woman submits to you, don't use that to break her. Don't use it to break her, because at the end of the day, even though you may be the ruling authority in the house and all that, at the same time, we are responsible before Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah if we didn't use our ruling authority power justly. If we're not fair, dealing with one wife, two wives, three, however many it is, if we're not fair, we're going to be held accountable before Allah. And they always mention it's possible that the woman places in her contract that certain things she needs to be able to leave. We're not getting like, she puts in her contract, listen, I'm working. Because, and she does that based on, a lot of times, these are situations. Sister married brother. Brother knows she work. They get married. After they get married, he wanted to quit her job. Right? Two things possible. Possibly she did that before already for another man, and it ain't work out. She already went down that road, and she said, I'm never doing that again. So next time I get married, I got to bring it up to let whoever I marry, I'm not quitting my job based on the experience, something she experienced. Cool. Another situation is possible. The man knew she was working right before they got married. She'd been there. She dug in. She dug all the way in. They get married. He wants her to quit. She doesn't want to quit. They didn't really have no agreement before. She didn't make any stipulations in the marriage contract or nothing like that. Right? That's always a problem, man. That's why we got to be fair. We Muslim. We have to be fair. I don't know if that's the word people understand nowadays. Fair. Just. What's another word? Huh? I don't know if that fits here, though.
Yeah, you're right.
What's fair? What's another word for fair? Just in case people don't understand fair. You gotta be right, man. You gotta be a Muslim. You gotta be right. Right? You gotta be fair, like just and understand it. Is that being good to a person? Put a person in the tight predicament? Why? What's going on that you feel like that? And it's a conversation. If it's in the contract, that's one thing. If it's not in the contract, that's a different situation. But when this issue comes up about preventing a woman from leaving the house, they always speak about the man being fair and not being overboard in his authority. طيب, he says, وعلى غير طفل تسوية بين زوجات في القسم لا في وطء وكسوة. Yes.
Isn't that supposed to be connected to you having like you not wanting harm or let's use companions for instance, not celibate companions, but your wife companions. So you don't want her to go to the Walmart because you know sister so and so is not a good companion. You know what I mean? In other words, the preventing from going out is supposed to be connected to the fact that when you know she's going to do whatever it is she's doing, you know that's harmful to your wife, her deed, her iman, her image as a Muslim, or things like whether it's moms, sisters that's not Muslim,
right.
You know, family, stuff like that. It's because of your knowledge of when you're with them. I mean, whether your sister smoke. Why would I want you riding around with your sister? You know she gonna roll up or whatever the case may be. You with your companion, y'all backbite all the time. I know the sister personally, and you know things of that nature.
Jade, if that's the case, if a man is preventing his wife from doing something based on the harm that he sees, right? Allahu A'lam. At this point, this is my opinion, based on what I've seen. If she respects the man enough, she's not going to do it anyway. It ain't even going to be no, right? If it's put clear enough, if she understands what he's saying and his reasoning, right? And she respects the person in front of her talking, then more than likely she's going to fall back. But if it's not put clear, I don't understand what you're saying. You saying that it doesn't make sense. Say what you're saying. Don't do it. Right? I got the haq to say you can't leave the house. Cool. What's coming after that though? You just got to be ready to. Just got to be honest. What's coming after that? It got to be right. And you could say what. Oh man, you could. You know, no, don't leave the house. I said this. That's it. I'm leaving. I'll be back. You could do that. You can, but understand, right? It's stuff coming. It's some stuff coming behind that. You gotta be ready to deal with that. Y'all live together. It ain't like you gonna come home and she just disappeared in the thin air. Y'all live together. She might disappear. Stuck for love. Oh, stuck for love. Yes.
On the flip side of it, he's saying, like, say you were to, like he said, he's telling her, don't go out. Like, he's basically enforcing his right, like, to tell her, like, don't go out because I don't want you going into that harm. On the flip side of that, if you tell her, like, yo, not necessarily use your right to say, like, I don't think you should go with her, but she's still like, oh, that's my best friend. You know how, like, people are. And she decides that she still wants to go. Would you be wrong if you just let her, you know, go out and crash and burn? Because it's like, I didn't necessarily.
What you mean crash and burn?
Because like you might not prevent her. You might not tell her like, no, I'm not forcing you to stay in, but at the same time, because like you said, you don't want to deal with I come home now, you done lost all the, you done took all the batteries out of the remote, or you know how to. True. I'm gonna offer it to you, but.
All right, let's just say, what's getting ready to happen? What is she about to go do? Let's say, for example, like he said. I mean, I'm just saying, she going to Walmart. What's going to happen when she go to Walmart?
You never know.
All right, I'm just saying, no. I'm just saying, worst case scenario, she riding to Walmart with her cousin. We're not talking about nobody about to get killed or nothing. I'm just saying, right? We're not talking, not to that level. If it's to the level somebody going to kill, that's one thing. We're just saying, people's ain't really good company like that. That's her sister. Her sister ain't Muslim, right? All that, cool. They get ready to go to Walmart, right? you got to look at it and gauge the situation. Do you see it at that point right there, that situation? Is it that serious right now to go that deep for that right there? I can't really speak on, you know what I'm saying, and say a trip. I don't know. But you got to be able to gauge the situation, pick your battles. What's the worst scenario that you have? Man got to be able to do all of that. I don't have a cookie cutter answer for a situation like that.
Would you be wrong if you get to a point where you kind of like?
It depends what they're going to do.
So
they going to Walmart. What's the Pokemon going to Walmart? Is it permissible to go to Walmart? They're going to Walmart. We're not talking about they going to a club, they going to a bar. She said she just going to ride with her to keep her company. We're not talking about that. We're talking about they going to Walmart.
So in that case is where you got to kind of.
You got to look at it and say, who is it? Am I going to go in on this like that? Is it right now? All that stuff is up to the man.
In the case, like you said, 'cause that's a reality too. Like she might say, "Oh, she about to go to a bar." She might.
Well, no, then you got to stop the evil. You got to prevent the evil. She going to a bar. You ain't let your wife go to no bar. Not on my watch. You got to go. You know what I'm saying? But if it's things other than, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about regular things. They going to Penn's Landing. Whatever. They going somewhere. You got to be able to pick them battles and see what's worth going to the next level. Because there's definitely going to be something after that. There's something coming after that.
They rights is connected to the obedience of the husband.
You're not saying it's not.
Right. No, I'm just saying because when, like you said, or like you're saying, if you have legit reason, right? You have the legit reason, the area you about to go to, or okay, like was it you? No, I think Ali was explaining. Or no, it was you actually. It was you that was saying, we don't have to go to Christmas gatherings and Thanksgiving gatherings and things. Okay, you're not going to eat, so you say, but I know what goes on in the house of the family during Thanksgiving, but you going. So now that you go, you know what I mean? You blatantly disrespect or disobey your husband and you went.
Oh, you told her not to go and she went anyway.
She went, right. I don't think a lot of times, I know the brothers, I be with you, but a lot of brothers don't know that the wife obedience is connected to her rights, her maintenance and everything.
We ain't get there yet.
Yeah, I know.
That's coming. Tell you. And we ain't getting there tonight either. Just to let you tell you. Tell you. He says that the obligate, this is the next section. This is the last part for the night, really. The wife, the obligation to be taswiya. Equal. To be equal between his wives when it comes to, number one, al-qasm. Al-qasm is the nights that are spent with the wives. He got 2 wives. He can't just be at one of her, right? The right is that they have equal nights. That's the right. We're not talking about, we ain't get there. The right, whether it's after Maghrib or in the daytime, depends on the job. The right, we just using nights for now. They have equal nights. That's her right, right? So the man has to be equal in his splitting of the nights. That's one. It says, la fi wati. He doesn't have to be equal in how often he's intimate with both of his wives. Clear? Spending the night is one thing. Being intimate while spending the night is another level. The obligation is on being there. Because a man could be there, and it doesn't necessarily mean she wants to be intimate. Or he might want to be intimate. It might just be cuddle. Companionship, whatever word you use, they just there enjoying each other's company. So because he was intimate with one doesn't mean intimacy is not a thing that they have to be equal in. But nights is quality time. Yeah, see, that's clean. Cuddle is all right though. Cuddle.
It's the woman, right? Because we all go through things. So if the woman actually don't want to be intimate, there's no beef between y'all, it's none of that. But she's just not in that mood for whatever the reason. For valid reason though. You know what I mean? But she's just not in that mood. How does Islam give us that? What do we do with it? Like, how do you? she could really tell. She could tell you.
Listen,
like, look,
the husband has a right. That's her haq, right? I mean, that's the man's right.
Right.
Something might have happened that day. She's not in the mood. He need to try to
Okay.
work
I
to.
think that goes with what you were saying. Like I should have
been my roof. If she's not really in the mood, right?
Have patience.
Somebody.
Yeah.
You might have, you know. You got listen, Shake. You know what I mean?
No, I got you. I got you.
That's all I'm saying.
I got you. You know?
Hold up.
What if the wife want to be intimate and the husband don't want to be intimate?
Flip side.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah.
The wife wants to be intimate and the husband doesn't.
That's where the once every 4 months.
No. Ashruhunna bil ma'ruf. Live with each other in goodness. Live with each other in goodness. If she wants to be intimate, she hasn't seen you. Her haq, she wants to be intimate with her husband. Right? The husband doesn't feel like it. Right? On both sides. Number one, the husband needs to understand that his wife has a desire that is for him to fulfill it. Right? He's the only one that's fulfilling that desire for her. That's important. Right? If the husband's desire is not fulfilled, what happens? Not immediately. He can get another wife, his eyes start roaming. If the wife's desire is not fulfilled, what happens? She's not marrying another man. Husband got to be mindful that, you know what I'm saying? That's a real situation. On top of that, the woman, the wife has to understand he could just be tired. He could just be tired, right? That doesn't mean that they can't be intimate sometime while he's there, right? But at the end of the day, it all goes back to the ayat and the hadith. Live with each other in goodness. You got to be giving each other a pass. You got to be. Now, of course, when they get over the top and there've been too many passes, then a person get fed up. That's when it's what we talking about. Generally, right? A person come, they said, every time you come, you tired? No. Every time you come, no, that's going to be a problem, right? So on both sides, there got to be some consideration for the other person. Has to be consideration for the other person. And it doesn't mean, well, it does mean consideration means I might not get what's really my haq tonight. Like right now, today, I might have to relinquish my right in this situation for both parties, right? It ain't an L, y'all. It ain't like she gonna run off, tell somebody. This a marriage. It's all this is in the house, right? So the first thing is to be equal when it comes to the nights. The second thing was kiswa, and when it comes to clothing, وَنَحْوِهِمَا إِذَا قَامَ بِالْوَاجِبِ. He says, also the clothing, when it comes to clothing, it's important to know that everybody, and even the housing and everything, is based on the need. It's based on the need. Now let's go to the highest level. The highest level of equality, if you want to say being equal, is that every time you do something, you do one for each of your wives. But is that obligatory? That's the issue. That's the issue of discussion. And many of the ulama say it's not like that. That you buy her this, you got it. Some do. Some, right? And if you did that, you would be out of the gray. But all don't say that. Every time you buy her this watch, you got to buy her that watch. Nah, right? These women may be from two different social classes. They come from two different backgrounds. They don't need. This woman has 4 children. She doesn't have any children. She needs a bigger house. She had, right? It's based on the need. That's number one. Number 2, he says, when it comes to the nights in the clothing of his wife, he says there's a level of obligation, and then there's a level of, if we could say, charity. Right? It's some things that the wife needs, all of them. So if you got 2 wives, there's some things that both of them need. Hands down, a woman gotta have this. Right? And then after that, she might need this, but she doesn't need it. The other one doesn't need it. This one needs this one doesn't need that. Right? If you got all of them, everything, then you would be out But do you have to buy all of them everything? That's important for sisters to know. Equality doesn't all the way mean that if she get this car, you're supposed to get the exact same car. Not to all of them, man. Not this, right? If she got this, you got to get her this. It's not like that because it's based on the need, what's appropriate for her situation. A man marries a woman with no children, whatever age she is, and she's fine with this. Then he marries another woman. She might have children, older children. They need more space, so he gets a bigger place for her to live. It's based on the need. They both have somewhere to live. Do they both need 4-bedroom houses, for example? They don't both need that. All right, so it's based on the need. طيب. He says, وَإِمَادُهُ اللَّيْلِ إِلَّا فِي حَارِسٍ وَنَحْوِهِ فَالنَّهَارِ. And we'll stop here for the night. The nights, whoever works during the daytime, then he's splitting what? Nights. That means when he goes home, he goes and the night is hers, right? And the night starts when? After Maghrib, right? For the person who works in the daytime. What if a person work overnight? Split the days, right? The point is, as the early man explained, when he goes home to rest, right, unwind. Well, if I work at night, then I'm unwinding. I'm going home, eat, rest, lay down in the daytime. That's her time, right? If I'm an overnight worker. If I work in the daytime, by the time I get off, let's just say I'm 7 to 3, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, if I'm on that type of schedule, right? Or I might work second shift, regardless. Maghrib starts from that time of Maghrib is her time, right? If I work overnight, when I go home to unwind with my family, that's her time in that day. And that's the point of the days and the nights, and that's how they distinguish the two. If a person works at night, then he's splitting days. We still call them nights, but in reality, he's splitting days. And if a person worked on a day, then he's splitting nights. And either way, it has to be equal. Unless, when doesn't it have to be equal? If she doesn't mind. If they have an agreement where she doesn't mind the other one having more nights or something like that. Clear? That's her right. So the right is that it's done equally unless she can relinquish her right. Wallahu a'lam. We're going to stop there tonight. Inshallah. 28. Unless there's any questions.
I have some questions.
Further.
You were talking earlier about the rights, and like I have a daughter. I have a major concern. You can help me with. That I wouldn't marry my daughter to a brother who's incarcerated.
Okay.
I would feel, and I'm not saying because incarceration makes you bad. I'm saying, am I dealing with people? I see that some people are overtly aggressive. Some people are, like for example, I know my daughter is passive, and you don't have to get something from her. You don't have to be aggressive.
Right.
And I see some brothers are overtly aggressive. They may not, like the brother was, he had a great example. Some people, that's just their like personality and where they are. So is it wrong for me in that instance to like, you know, to choose someone or to not choose someone based on those circumstances alone?
You said they're in jail?
No.
They've been to jail.
For a long period of time.
You said would it be wrong to what?
To use that as a parameter to judge and say, okay, you know, I'm not, you know, just simply because of that, I would not even recommend you to my daughter.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I mean, I got the same concern. I have that concern. Can you say that's not 100% though?
Okay.
That's not 100% that everybody who goes to jail is just overly aggressive. So I wouldn't use that as the determining gauge, but it's definitely a factor. It's definitely a factor, especially if you know people went to jail and you know, right? It's a factor to look at to a person when they tell you that. You know, we gotta do homework. You been where was you at? You was booked? How long? Oh yeah, where was you at? How long was you up there? Then we gotta hit the street and find out who was up there with him and all that. I mean, we got to. You got us homework. Sisters supposed to do the same thing. Sisters be thinking, see, the sisters, you gotta understand, you can't do the homework on a person by yourself. Just because you check them out and you check this background, you have to let the wali be involved in background checking the potential husband. right? You gotta let your wali. You have to let the wali do his job in investigating who people are from a male point of view. Not to say that what you did didn't count. That was good. And you got whatever you got, but you have to see there's another side that all the brothers, we all know. Men talk to women one way, and then men talk to men another totally different way. So you got to keep that in mind. No matter how good he talking, how nice he looked in them shoes and all that, slow down. You got to slow down and let your Ali. Don't shortcut. A lot of times that's the problem. A lot of times there's not enough homework done on the potential husband or the potential wife. Brother was talking about that earlier. She say something and you done. Right? You spoke to her, she said something and it got you. Gotta be careful. As the Prophet ﷺ said, some kalam is sihr. The Prophet ﷺ said, some speech is magic. Sometimes people, the way they speak is magical. Wrap you up. You don't even know what happened. Allah Mustaan. Allah protect us, man. I mean, because that's a concern.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Earlier you were talking about it's a command for the man to treat his wife kindly. So if a man disrespects his wife, is this a sin?
No doubt. No doubt. Speaking to each other disrespectfully, right? What's the command? Goodness. If we stick with the verse, it's a lot easier if we stick with the verse. Disrespecting your wife, calling her out a name, cursing her out. Like, what part of deen is that? What example do we have in the Quran or the Sunnah to do that with our wives? Nowhere. Or the wife with the husband. And the problem is we do that and then we try to pull it back. I was just mad. Dad, you can't. I don't know if sisters know, but I'm sure sisters do know because sisters say the same thing. Everybody say the same thing. Some things you can't take back. You already did it. Yeah, you apologize. I get it. Cool. But some things you can't reel that back in. The fact that you said that is stuck now. We're going to move on. Right? We're going to move on. But you can't reel that back. You can't just say, I was mad, and that cleans it all up. The damage is done. Like a lot of men and women say that.
Is there any texts or books that's on the relationship between parents after a divorce?
What you mean?
Mom, baby, dad. Say they was married, they had kids, they got divorced, and they still had to deal with each other. Is there any text that's how to deal with that process?
Basically, is there any books or texts basically on the parents who are divorced but they have children together?
Yeah, co-parenting.
Co-parenting. Not that I know of. Allah Alam. That's a good question. Not that I know of. Even without any text, right? Without any text, a man and a woman who don't make it in a marriage and they have children together, one thing's for sure, two things for certain. The relationship is never over once you got them kids. It's never over. Y'all got kids together. If you have children together, there's always a relationship on some level. On some level.
I know Sheikh Surah or whatever he said, everything applies except the rights y'all had over each other when y'all was married. So she's still your sister in Islam.
No doubt. That's number one.
You still got to do everything that you
No doubt.
normally do except maintenance.
At the least, she's still your sister in Islam. You can't go around and just tarnish her name because y'all ain't make it.
Right.
At the least, he's still your brother. He's still a Muslim. It's still haram to backbite him. At the least, between those things, we still Muslim. And now y'all got kids together. That's still your child's father. Whether you like him, you could be married to him or not. That's still your child's mother, regardless of what y'all think about each other.
Sister's saying if a brother is constantly beating his wife, if she's having an issue with leaving, getting out, what can she do?
Call the cops.
Call the police.
Call the cops, right?
Call Wali, call the brother.
Wali definitely should know. See, there's a problem. They don't tell the Wali. Sisters they say he's beating me. They don't call the Wali the first time it happened. They don't call like if we really look at it, what's going to happen if a man is putting his hands and beating a woman, right? Number one, it's haram. Number one, you're beating a woman. Like, number two, we got to be realistic. What's get ready to happen? You're going to go to the masjid, right? Just going to go to the masjid and say, my husband beat me. Cool. If your husband is beating you, not cool, but okay, your husband is beating you. Once they start asking a bunch of questions, you can't slow down now. Don't want to give out no information. You got to be able to open. You got to open the door all the way up so people can help. Right? It has to be an all the way open door. If it's like that, you scared to go home. Either one or two things. Either you're gonna call the cops or other people won't get involved, and it could be an ugly thing. We got a certain amount of authority. Especially if they hit the joint. Where's your husband? He don't come down here. Why? I mean, like, so I'm just saying, like, why would he listen if he doesn't come down here? Like, words we use. Well, who does he respect? What masjid does he go to? Where does he pray? Who knows him? Did you go to them? No. Does your wali know? No. You went to your wali? Yeah. If all that, like, it's a whole process. But if that's the case, a woman gotta have to let the people who you go to help. If you go to people for help, you have to let them help you. You can't dictate how the person's gonna help you.
Question. Realistically, for like you're dealing with them type of situations, those type of men, because in my head, evidently Izzy man not that strong to where he's not fair in the law when he's running at her head. What Islamically is any man or any religious person going to tell him that's like, has it been like anything you could like, have you had any success with that type of stuff? Like,
most of the time in them situations, brothers don't talk to nobody. That's why we always speak about this before the marriage. A lot of times in those situations, brother goes MIA. He won't answer his phone. The man he won't talk to anybody. He won't take calls from anybody. Well, at least that's what they tell us. We only know what people come and tell us. Can we get in touch with him? He don't answer the phone. He cut his phone off. Well, nobody knows him. All these avenues. There's no. So the question at the end, well, what are we supposed to do? If that's the case, if there's no way we can possibly rectify it, just go to the cops. If he beating you, like, you gonna go back home and get beat again? Go to the police. The police.
You go back to my question. When you first started, you said what's considered ma'ruf, what's considered good, and you said it's according to the custom.
Right.
But that was my question. Like, how do we begin to remedy these ill customs that we've grown up? Like, she may have grown up in a situation where her mother was abused. Good. And abuse was something that showed when a man hit you, she loves you. You may not say it, but some people are just accustomed to. He may just be the same way he was abused. Like, how do we remedy these like generational problems that we have?
Jade. He said that the custom might be what's good is according to the custom, right? Okay, cool. The custom might be, like he said, some people have a custom. If he hits you, he loves you and all that kind of stuff. If he gets angry. How do you remedy that? The remedy is Islam. Because in Islam, we have the urf that is considered fasid. There's a custom that is, it's an unacceptable custom. That custom is unacceptable. Why? Because that goes against our deen. So there's some customs that we have that the non-Muslims here share with us. Some things we do, it don't go against Islam, and we can keep that. Then there's some customs that we have that we share with the non-Muslims here that's unacceptable Islamically. So we can't continue doing them. And when those customs pop up, we have to know that, okay, Islamically, that's not allowed. So we have to leave it. We got to know that all custom is not good custom. Clear? All custom is not good custom. So, for example, we got customs like when it comes to dressing and getting dressed and going to dinners and stuff like that. Like an old custom used to be, you go in a building, you take your hat off, right, out of respect, and you go to a wedding or something like that. You go to a dinner. You go somewhere where it's for an occasion. And for the men, if we going somewhere, right, and we got to get dressed, what are we going to do for that occasion? Dress for the occasion, which includes what? Okay, what else? What else? A haircut. that we share with non-Muslims. I got at least get a lineup, at least, right? Right? We know we putting clothes on. We already know we getting dressed, right? You say, look, I can't go there like this. I got at least get a shape up, right? Cool. Islamically, right? That's a custom. That's not like we have to get a shape up. It's not haram. It's permissible. It's allowed, right? Why? Because I can't go there, and I can't go there and keep a hat on the whole time I'm there, right? Right? Tell you, if you go to another country, then that's not part of their custom because, for example, in Saudi, they're gonna go there with a head wrap on anyway. They're not taking off their head wrap anyway. They can't come without anything on their head. So they could be wolfing and you'll never know because they got a whole kufi on, a whole shimag wrapped up. You'll never know. That's part of their custom, right? So some things are acceptable. Some of our customs are acceptable Islamically, and some of our customs are not acceptable Islamically. It's not acceptable Islamically for us to just have doubt about every Muslim that walk in the door, like we used to do. So, bull. Everybody that come through is a question mark. You know, bull. So if I don't know, bull, then what? I'm not. I need you to vouch. I need somebody to vouch for him before I can even talk to him. That's unacceptable Islamically. That's called suldan bil Muslim. That's having bad thoughts about a Muslim. That's not the asl. Asl is we have good thoughts about each other, right? But we might have a custom that we grew up on. Everybody's a question mark if I don't know you, right? I put something on you from the rip, right? Like we Philly people, we Philly.
That's present.
Right? That's Philly. That's the custom.
I never thought about that.
Philly, everybody, I'm gonna use this term intentionally. This might be an old term, but everybody's a nut. Everybody's a nut in Philly until proven otherwise. That's a custom that we come up on. That's Islamically, it's not acceptable. Everybody's a until you, who I respect, come tell me he's not. Once you come say, oh no, he all right. All right, he good. Now I can smile, I can talk. Islamically, that's unacceptable though. That's a custom that we come up on, but it's unacceptable. So all of the customs, jazakallah khair, are not acceptable, yeah.
I don't want to go too left.
I ain't gonna let you go too left.
No, because sometimes with these marriages, man, and it's happened a few times. Well, not a few times, but you come into some weird stuff. Like, can you choke me? Not like what I mean. But
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, does that fit into the issue we were talking about was unacceptable? The
unacceptable order custom, the unacceptable custom.
Yeah.
A fetish.
You must.
Allahu alam. I would say it depends because some things Islamically is not allowed. Be clear, anal sex is haram. No matter if a person got a fetish with it or not, haram. So a man doesn't and a woman, they don't continue to do that knowing it's haram. It's a custom. It's how we, no. Right? So it depends on what it is. It depends on what it is. And the thing is, a lot of these issues, we might be shy to say it. Dang. But they in the books. You'd be surprised at what the early man spoke about hundreds of years ago already. It might sound like it's, no, they already spoke about it. That's why I don't really want to say it, but if we really got to get to it, we can go back in the books and get to it because a lot of the issues are already there.
So piggybacking on that question, so the sister who, let's say she's uncomfortable, but the brother comes from the hukum that, okay, you're under my command. This is what I desire.
Right.
So, but it's something displeasing to her. It's like you said, go back to the ayah that you have to deal with them in kindness.
Right.
But this is something that she feels degraded as
Right.
a human being. And he's trying to compel on her with the verses from the Quran and Sunnah that she has to obey him. Is she sinful for not, for refusing that? It's something that's degrading to her or for nafsiyah.
Is she sinful?
Yeah, like for refusing to go to the bed with him, knowing that's what he wants to get into, those type of fetishes, because it's degrading to her person.
The fetishes is haram.
Allahu a'lam. Allahu ta'ala a'lam. Allahu
That's
a'lam.
my roof, of course.
Allahu a'lam. Allahu a'lam. But I would say, even if that was the case, if we're using the eye and be good, live with each other in kindness. Sometimes if you're trying to if a person, it's your wife, right? It's your husband. If what you're saying or what you're doing to them, they feel like it's degrading, at the least you gotta like pump your brakes and say, all right, well, I'm not trying to disrespect you because that's the closest person to you. How they gonna look at you after you keep degrading them? I told you that's like disrespect. You keep doing it. Where is that gonna lead to in a marriage? You know what I'm saying? Allahu Alam on the permissibility of it or even the sin of it, but if we being like using our brains and being honest and being fair and being just, I don't want you to do nothing that's going to be degrading and disrespectful to me. Because if you do something that's degrading and disrespectful, I'm not having it. Right? But on the flip side, when she don't want you to be something degrading and disrespectful, it's not a big deal to you. Right? That's not being just. If you're going to be just, you want respect, give respect, you get respect. Be good to people, they be good to you. It's possible he don't know that that's degrading to her. She need to tell him. Right? Like he said, that might be something he was used to. Right? She needed to say something. Listen, that's not whatever how she got to put it. And he needs to understand, well, listen, I wasn't trying to be rude or disrespectful. It's a conversation. If you can't have them talks like with the person closest to you, y'all having babies together. You know what I'm saying? Y'all laying like y'all having babies together. Y'all got to be able to talk about some of that sensitive. It's sensitive, but nobody knows what the other person is thinking. And once y'all got time in and y'all figured all that out, that's different. But when you in them early years and y'all learning each other, 3-4 years, you learning somebody, you still learning somebody, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, y'all still learning each other. 7 years, y'all might be still learning each other. She think, that's good. She thinks she know him, but she don't really know him like that. She's still learning. If she paying attention, he don't really know her. If he not paying attention. If he's paying attention and they have them real talks and right, it's like a real, you say, nah, it's a real house. They actually talk to each other in the house and stuff. If it's real like that, then they might know each other. But if it's just a pass and go in the house for 6-7 years, they might not really know each other. I'm stopping. We'll stop there, inshallah. Until next week. Sallallahu wa sallam wa barak nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.
Dang, the questions would have
I'm gonna pray. She